Hey guys, today we're going to talk about how to find short squeeze stocks. What are they? What are good ones? And a few examples. So here's today's presentation, how to find short squeeze stocks. And like I said, we're going to talk about what is a short squeeze, what is a short squeeze stock, and where can you find them, and analyzing them, sorting out which ones are the good ones, the bad ones, and good timing, and an example. So let's dive right into it. Where can you find short squeeze stocks? Well, look at this. On Reddit, there is r/short squeeze community. And this is where people post their tips on what is a potential short squeeze stock. So for instance, this one, Riley, don't miss the move, up almost 12%. There's one right there, an idea that you can research. MAXN is another one. So as you can see, following this subreddit is a good idea. And there's also the infamous Wall Street Bets. Now, Wall Street Bets is huge. Obviously, now it's got 16 million members, and they cover all sorts of stuff. The broader market, individual stocks, options. So if you're looking for ideas and stories, war stories, and learning situations, people post their gains and their losses. So as you can see, this person bought NVIDIA calls, and NVIDIA dropped down today. And then this guy is up 763,000 in his account. Take it for what it's worth. But it's a good source for ideas. If you can dig through here and you can find ones that are just mentioned and aren't getting like a lot of the big coverage, I guess you might say, there's good ideas there. I've found ideas there. So Wall Street Bets is another one. Here's another site on Market Watch. And it is just a page covering short interest, the most shorted stocks. These are companies with the largest proportions of outstanding shares that are currently sold short. So what the main one here is, okay, this is the float. The float is the number of shares that are currently trading on the open market that aren't locked away or held privately, etc. And then it'll show you what percentage of that float is held short. And so, for instance, this one, MAXN, which we saw was actually mentioned on that Reddit has a float shorted percentage of 73.19%, which is huge. And look at the price. The price is 0.24 cents. So just for curiosity's sake, we can do an analysis on this, just to show you the kind of things that you might look at in order to sort of decide, well, is this going to be a good one? Maxion Solar Technologies. So the first thing I look for is, I usually don't do too much charting in finance.yahoo, but you can, obviously you can go back a year. So as you can see, it's just gone down. But if you go to like 5-year or all, you can see this stock has been as high as $37 at different points. But you want to look at the statistics, because oftentimes you might have dilution happening. So they're just issuing more and more shares, and also shorting, short positions, held by hedge funds and private individuals and such. So for that, you'd click the statistics tab. And you can see, the first thing that I would look for, you want to find real value. Like Roaring Kitty used to be known as deep fucking value on the Reddit thread. And because he was looking for a company that actually had a lot of value, that was way undervalued, plus a massive short position on it. And that can have explosive upside potential. And the famous example of that, of course, was GameStop, which had $5 billion in revenue, and it was trading at like 10% of its book value, and like 0.1 of price to sales, which is like insane, plus a massive short position. So that's why they selected GameStop, as a short squeeze target, if you will. So anyway, this Maxion Solar Technologies, the market cap is 106 million. So it's basically a micro cap or extremely small cap. But you can see the price of sales is 0.01. So they don't actually know up here. 2023 is 1.02. So they do have some sales, and but you're not seeing a lot of value on this one. So I wouldn't say it's like hugely undervalued, but it does have that share short, 22 million, which is 77%. So that's verified here on Yahoo Finance. They have this much cash, 100 million cash, total cash per share. So even their the amount of cash they have is way over the price. So on that alone, they are carrying massive debt, etc. So you can get into this and look at the different metrics and statistics on the stock. That's another way to determine. But they're not profitable, so they're losing money. A lot of negatives there, but they do have this almost $1 billion yearly in revenue per share. So that's huge, $20 of revenue per share, but they're not growing. So, all these things you need to kind of balance in your mind. But the question is, okay, so say you buy this and then you hold it and it can even go down further. When will it squeeze? And that's when you start looking at, okay, well, what are catalysts? These are events or announcements that might cause volume to come into the stock, and then the squeeze starts to happen, so the price goes up. And so timing is a big factor when you're trying to play these things. Now, those don't have to be material announcements. They could also be just coverage, like analyst coverage. That's kind of more solid, like an actual certified analyst at something like benzinga.com. But that's an example of a catalyst. Another catalyst could be like YouTube coverage. Like some YouTube channels are quite large now, up millions of subscribers, 800,000 subscribers, etc. And when an influencer like that, a finfluencer, gives some coverage, that can also bring a lot of volume in. Zip Trader is one that comes to mind, stuff like that. So that's obviously more informal, but it can have a big effect. So another way to get into some of these is by joining some of those groups that these larger channels have, and when they put out a pick like, hey, this one's way undervalued and it's like a sub-dollar penny stock, those things can go up quite a bit, and there's been some examples of that. This is one example. MCRB, this seems to be squeezing right now, and I'm actually holding a position in this. But as you can see, if we go to the statistics on this one, you can see there's actually some short interest there in this one. Where is it? Shares short, 20 million short ratio. So there's 19% short percentage of float is held short. And so that's quite a bit too. That can create a lot of upside momentum. And that's as of June 28th. So it's already kind of squeezing right now. And it showed up on the volume scanner. And you can see what's happening here with MCRB. This is Ceres Therapeutics. And interestingly, this used to be a really high price stock, and as such you can buy options on it. So it's a biotech company. They're researching microbiome technology. But see, just to show you, it was a $34 stock, and obviously short sellers kind of like to go into these high priced biotech stocks because they're almost always pre-revenue, and they stay that way for years and years and years. So the book value and the revenues are often very, they tend to be overvalued essentially. So they're good short targets. So as you can see, it just like went down 23, down to $5, $10, and then down to $2.60 and $7.90. But it came to a floor at like 60 cents, which is crazy. And that's where we're bouncing off of. And so this is really, I mean, the squeeze is kind of on. It's happening right now. If you look at the monthly chart, this is the monthly chart of what's happening here. So 70 cents and we're up to $1.48. So this is more than doubled. And I personally think it's going to continue to go higher. So Sarah's Therapeutics, that's an example. And yeah, you can see, you know, obviously more in-depth information on it. It's a biotech company. And but the where is it? Analysis. Oh yeah, here it is. So research analysis, this has coverage. So it's covered by analysts, quite a few of them, and there's strong buys, 3 strong buys, and it's actually been increasing. So April, May, June, July. So this could be a sign that the market is kind of saying, at these levels, it's a strong buy. I mean, because the analysts are piling on. So that's also very bullish too. But as you can see here, look at this. They're beating. So they actually do have earnings. So that's another really bullish sign too. They beat earnings in Q3 of 2023. They beat earnings in Q4. So they've been beating earnings. So that's pretty bullish too. So this is actually an example of possibly a good candidate for buying a short squeeze stock. You want to get something like this that has analyst recommendation. It actually has earnings, or it's beating earnings estimates. So it might still be losing money, but it's, you know, revenues are increasing. These are all bullish signs. And then of course you do your charting and analysis, and you also look at the amount of the percentage shares held short. So really, I mean, this is another way to minimize risk, is by looking for that kicker of short position. Because if you can get in on the bottom of some of these, obviously, as you can see, you can make really good returns on the stocks. And, you know, if you're really good at timing on the options as well too, because these things can explode quite a bit. As you can see, this is up 95%. The dollar calls and the $1.50 are starting to heat up here too. So if this goes to $2, these $1.50 calls are going to be worth like 50 cents minimum. So if you're buying them at 10 cents, that's a 5x. But this is expiring on Friday. So you want to look at the time value as well too. So the dollar, but yeah, there's not too much of a premium on these. So you can actually get this $1.50 for 40 cents and hold those for a month. But yeah, obviously there's risk with all of that too, but that's how you can get added leverage using the options. So, however, you don't even really need the options. I mean, if you go in on, if you can get in on the floor on some of these and they squeeze, they can double, triple, and even more just from the squeeze factor. So that's my presentation on how to find short squeeze stocks. If you like this information, like, share, subscribe, add your comments, and also consider subscribing to my Patreon. And I'm going to release the information beforehand so you can get pre-alpha on that as well. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.